right, how's everybody doing? You feel refreshed after our break? Woo! Sounds like we need to do some aerobics or something to get up and going. So my name is Dane Laughlin. I'm our track lead for today for the enterprise session. Today we have a fireside chat with Amy Peck, who is the CEO of Endeavor VR, and the Chief Business Officer of Magic Leap, Walter Delph. So I'll invite both of them to the stage and hand it off.
Hi there. I'm like this surprise interviewer because I know I wasn't on the schedule. So I am very excited I need to get closer over to here so I can actually see Walter while we're talking, since this is going to be a fireside chat.
Okay.
And so I met Walter a few months ago, and we're super excited about what Magic Leap is doing. And then I saw Walter's blog post that is, the same name as the slide that you're about to see. Can we switch to the other slide? Yeah. And I think it's, because I can take this off, I forgot. Because I focus on enterprise, I thought this is great. Like, this is how companies should be thinking about it, and Walter put it so succinctly. So I thought it would be great for all of us to be able to hear from Walter directly on exactly this. So welcome, Walter.
Thanks. Hi, everybody.
So let's start a little bit with your history and kind of talk about your career path and how you landed at Magic Leap.
Yeah. I always liked Magic Leap, always was a believer that there was something meaningful in the direction that Magic Leap was going in. But I think that the challenge ahead on building the entire ecosystem can't be done by one company. I came from a management consulting firm right before, and so I had the vantage point of being able to see multiple different industries, and it was very clear to me that in the enterprise, that manufacturing environments would be one that you could take advantage of in real time. Then obviously when you start thinking about some of the larger, more visionary type opportunities, that becomes very exciting as well. But what you want to do is basically have some momentum in certain areas and then use that cachet and use that momentum to build out the future opportunities. And they saw that Magic Leap was very well positioned for that. And so last summer, the new CEO invited me to join her on this ride at Magic Leap and to go into the augmented reality space. And it has been quite a ride, but it's been one that has pleasantly surprised me about how wrong I was. I believe that there was opportunities today, but I didn't, and as the chief business officer, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I didn't think it was the extent as quickly as it's becoming. I think this spring really was a step change in terms of not just big companies announcing their intentions in the space, but also big customer opportunities that are not talking about proof of concepts, but are talking about large-scale deployments in this environment as well. So very pleasantly surprised about what seems to be this larger ecosystem moving even faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think again, when I saw this, I thought, all right, this is like distilling it down. And I'm not going to say it's simple, but it is important to think about this transformation in order. And then, I know we're at AWE. We should all know this. We're going to talk about augmented reality, and we're going to refer to what Magic Leap does as augmented reality. But it really is. It's a spatial computer, and we can call it all kinds of different things, but I've seen it again recently, and I've seen the new device, and it's spectacular. But just for the sake of this forum, we're going to be referring to it as AR, but it is more than AR because it's not just a heads-up display. It is truly a spatial computing device, and that's really how I think about it as someone who's a consultant in the industry. So let's just actually kind of break this down. I think that's the best way to do it. So, talking about aligning AR strategy is kind of the first step. what does that mean, and what's some of the process behind the very first step?
Yeah. So well, first of all, I do like how you've established the nomenclature, and I know there's a lot of different definitions out here, but at least that we can all kind of work on the same assumptions of augmented reality, which is something that is often not necessarily understood when I start having the conversations with different customers. Yes, within most companies there are developers and there are IT managers that are very aware of this, but when you actually talk about integrating to the core of the company's operations, it is still very much an early stage discussion. And that's where you want to start. You really want to hone in on how to either drive operational improvement or top line growth as the business OKRs, metrics that are identical at any company you go to. But until you really hone in on what they're trying to solve for, you're kind of guessing. And so I think the first step has got to be make sure that you're aligning your strategy with your core operations in some way or the other. How can this technology improve what you're trying to do? And that way you can use that to really answer the question, what problem are you solving for? And why AR could be that right solution. Until you do that, you're kind of guessing. And so first step is really getting that alignment, understanding if you're trying to grow top line, if you're trying to save cost, if you're trying to do other forms of operational improvement. But if you're not doing that work, then how is a large-scale deployment of AR going to really drive an enterprise, success story?
And you said something that I think is really interesting there. It's like, how does AR help? So you define the problem, and then it's then about, does this technology fit? Yeah,
there's no doubt that in almost every environment you can go into, AR can help. And I'm the business officer at Magic Leap, but I'm not just trying to sell someone a device and then run away and never have that conversation. In fact, the beauty of being in an enterprise model is that if you can understand that core operational driver, people will keep buying more and more from what you have. If they understand that they're going to save 10% or 5% per month, per week, per year, that's just pure economics. And people are going to say, I don't care what that thing is doing, I'm going to keep buying it. So then that conversation with the CTO office or the CFO office becomes very different when you've established that core tie-in to what they're trying to achieve. And that's where you get to that large scale, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of devices deployed at specific companies. And that's really what I'm trying to do, which is the whole industry starting off in this smaller scale deployment or innovation stages, but really getting to the large scale deployments is where we're all trying to get to. And that's how Magic Leap's going to do it.
That's great. All right, and we're just going to go through all of the steps. So step 2, obtain leadership commitment from C-level executives through middle management. So it's sort of top down, bottom up.
Yeah, this is pretty logical, I think, which is that if you go through the C-suite, you will probably get a meeting because we have an interesting technology. Frankly, when you go into that device for the first time, I don't care who you are, your eyes open, and it's just exhilarating. So getting that first meeting is not the end-all, be-all. What you really want to get to is you want to get that support from the C-suite, where, like we referred to earlier in this conversation, where the desire to do that work and understand where this technology can improve your operations, that's where the C-suite becomes very helpful. But we all know that if it's eventually the work is going to go down to line managers, down to a much more junior level, and they're the ones who are going to have to keep this on their head for a few hours a day. They're going to have to charge it. They're the ones who are going to have to deal with the form functionality of it. They're going to have to upgrade and do all those types of things. And so also having the buy-in at that level is crucial because you want deployment. You want people to use it and not just keep it on the shelf. And you want success on all sides. You want the C-suite to be happy about it, and you want the working team to be happy about it. So I think it's, like I said, logical, but it's not always the easiest thing to do.
And so how much of this piece of the process is just education, just trying to get as many stakeholders kind of, thinking about this as possible?
There's a lot of education to do, but like I said, if you can hone it in onto their day-to-day, or at least their budgetary cycle or their strategic review cycle, it becomes part of what they're doing rather than a distraction. And that's where we have to move this hardware discussion away from, which is what can it do? And you need to get into it. This is how it's not going to be a distraction. This is how it's going to improve your life, improve your business, improve your bottom line.
And so that leads us, of course, into question number 3, which is, point number 3, which is choose a strategic starting point with clear outcomes for AR efforts with continuous monitoring of progress. So this seems like an incredibly important step in this process.
Yeah. So the best way to talk about this is give a real life example. Without mentioning names, there's a partner of ours, a software partner that works in the manufacturing environment, is world class, and has honed in and understands, because they spend so much time just in that one maintenance area for manufacturing, that they understand a lot of what that end user is trying to achieve. And so what you have here is just they have understood what the existing world looked like, which is about 2 hours to get this maintenance type effort accomplished. But over the period of time where there was analysis and you watched people, and I'm a huge believer in the concept of human-centered design, which is watching people in the wild, how they really interact. The analysis came back showing that 2 hour process, by using the technology and the specific software, dropped down to 40 minutes. Now, what that means, besides being able to manufacture or maintain things faster, is that the machine is able to be working at a higher efficiency. That's where we want to get to be able to tell those stories, those use cases, and to be very public about those stories, because there are a lot of environments where that use case is applicable to. And of course, if you can reduce time, which is a huge OKR for us, that's going to be one that's indisputable of the value of this technology. Now, it's not as sexy as some of the other examples, and I get that, but I do think you have to have a little bit of your vegetables with the meat. Yeah.
I like that analogy.
I tell that to my kids,
smart.
but it doesn't work at all.
No, I think you're right, because sometimes the solutions that are going to put the highest numbers on the board are the ones that are less sexy, but you're not going to get POC number 2 if you haven't had success in this first phase.
Yeah.
So again, I'm following this blog post. By the way, I will make the link available if you guys reach out. We'll make this link available because you'll refer back to it in this slide as well. So retain knowledgeable partners with expertise aligned with your vision and goals, also critical.
Yeah, this is a big one, and this is my first time at AWE, and I'm very glad to be here. But I do, if there's only one thing that I want to kind of impart with this group, which is that Magic Leap's belief is that we're going to grow and scale with partners, is that we are a big believer in building out, maintaining, and growing the ecosystem here. This is something that's been successful in every career, every business I've been in before. I think it's completely logical for Magic Leap to be doing this in the AR space. And there's so many companies that want to be involved. And so it's crucial that we discuss the opportunities of ecosystem. We're all in this together. And it's not just individual players. In fact, I kind of believe the reason why it's taken a little bit more time to take off is because there's been a lot of individual efforts and not that much collaboration. And so it is crucial for our success to go to market, to collaborate with partners, to scale. And I think that's that's kind of my driving force behind that component of this blog post.
And have you seen that, changing that kind of, let's open up the ecosystem and work together?
Absolutely. And I don't want to claim this is Magic Leaps have done this. I honestly believe that there are so many players that are either revisiting or, and this is impossible not to know, doubling down, tripling down in their investments into the space. that the second wave or this wave that is coming is a little different than the wave from the past, where there are conversations, there are tests, there are efforts where people are really kind of putting their story on the table and sharing it and saying, this is what we've learned, what have you learned? And you're really getting that collaborative efforts to really build out this ecosystem.
All right, number 5. Deploy the crawl, walk, run methodology of deploying new technology by starting with quick wins to generate momentum within the organization. Again, a lot of these seem obvious, but there's so much nuance to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, we did refer to that one a little bit, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I do think the key for this, which is memorializing the work that you've done, and making sure that, as I referred to, is that the players in the partnership ecosystem are comfortable sharing. That's not always from a business reason that smart of a strategy. A lot of the environments that we work in, specifically in our public sector business, you're not going to be sharing that type of information publicly. But when you're talking about core manufacturing improvements, there are some forums that the Magic Leap's been invited to, that we speak at, where you have companies that day to day compete with each other in manufacturing, but they kind of put their gloves down to learn about how some of these new technologies can help digitally transform or improve their business, and they're intently investing in this. And I'm not talking about technology companies here. I'm talking about 40, 50-year-old manufacturing companies who compete on razor-thin margins that are now kind of sharing shared learnings with their competitors around this wonderful step change technology. And this is not pure AR, but that's clearly one of the technologies. And I do want to say something about our industry here. I've been to a couple conferences, which is so strange to be back out. But it seems like when people want to talk about metaverse, they don't talk just about what we talk about metaverse. It's now everything, right? So it's NFTs. Before it was cloud, it was IoT, it was some of the key enablers. But now NFT and blockchain and all these other technologies are part of metaverse. And fine, if that's going to mean that we're going to get more focus and more investments and more interest in that area, so be it. But I do think that just being part of this ecosystem, getting some proof points, telling that story, is going to be the best for us all.
And then, of course, to our kind of number 6, test, measure, regroup, refine, and scale the highest value use cases, which we talked a little bit about, and then repeat. It's not just rinse and repeat,
no.
but
the key, and this is why for a while I ran product for Magic Leap, but I love when you get into the real product story, which is I tell my folks, and it's like my job is to listen, learn, and to be humble, right? Because if I can listen to hear the problems, we talked about that earlier, I can learn, I can bring back that learning to the product roadmap and use that to improve not just our product roadmap, but our customers, our partners' product roadmap. That's a very win-win story. And then be humble. While we are some of the sharper minds in this technology in the world, there are a lot of people who don't have the knowledge or don't have the experience. And so we have to have that humility and the willingness to teach and educate and even prod, when there is confrontation. But we have to have this willingness to kind of push through, artificial barriers or even real barriers to try and make this technology scale. That's what we're trying to do here. So that's, yeah.
Well, this has been great, and I'm not going to lie. I am going to use this. I promise to give you credit.
No problem.
And I'm really excited for the next device and to hear more about Magic Leap in the very near future. So thank you so much for joining today.
A quick plug: we do have the device, and we are doing demos of it, and hunt down someone with Magic Leap and see if we can get you into the demo area right near the coffee shop. So the device is slated to come out next year. We announced it with our new round of funding about 3 weeks ago. So things are.
And it's a thing. It's a thing of beauty.
So
I'm not
thank you,
kidding,
everybody.
seriously. All right, thanks so much.
Awesome.